Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a look at a different independent role-playing game. This time I'm going to take a look at one that's apparently a solo effort, a turn-based 2D offering with a randomized loot table and a number of different quests involved. Dungeons of Chaos was developed and published by Volker Etzner, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that right, and it was released on Steam back on September of 2017. Dungeons of Chaos is a party-based, turn-based 2D RPG with pixel art and tiles in an old-school style. It uses a typical level-up XP-based system and has a skill-based system for character customization and advancement. Pretty classic stuff all around, although the graphics and interface may take some getting used to. In terms of plot, Dungeons of Chaos starts with an unknown dark entity sending a minion out to attack the civilized realms. When they attack Lord Aldrich's castle, he stays behind with a few of his guards to cover the retreat of his court and the people through the portal created by the wizard Parnose. The survivors hole up in a cave on the outskirts of the land and wait for word from Aldrich, which never comes. They then select a team, the player characters, to go out in search of what happened to Aldrich and face the evils of the land. When you start the game, you are given a choice of using the default party or creating your own. The default party is decently balanced, while creating your own lets you roll up to 6 characters. Stats are determined randomly, as are a choice of 4 starting talents, which may limit your selection of classes. Basic ability scores are hit points, spell points, strength, and dexterity. Available classes are fighter, barbarian, ranger, archer, rogue, monk, cleric, mage, and druid. Each one requires a certain level in each of the 4 basic ability scores and are limited to certain starting traits. As the starting trait choices are randomly determined as well, it's entirely possible to roll decent ability scores for one class, but then be unable to take it due to incompatibility with the trait selection. Once a party is assembled, the game begins. Each character starts with gear appropriate to their class and starting traits, as well as a basic number of skills or spells depending on the class. The group also starts with an amount of starting gold with which to purchase better gear before braving the various dungeons. Gameplay takes place in 3 basic modes. There's location exploration, which is the bulk of the game, world exploration, and then combat. In addition, there are certain subscreens that may pop up from time to time when speaking with various types of NPCs. Location exploration is just that, exploring a location, whether it be a village or a dungeon. During this, you may uncover NPCs with which you may speak, items which you may search or with which you may interact, and enemies which will move to attack you. During basic exploration, the entire party is represented by a single icon, as are groups of enemies. Movement is on a turn-by-turn basis, and while exploring, you may access your inventory, cast exploration-level spells like Light, review your journal for relevant information and quests, manually search an area around you, access the game's settings, access the map area, and zoom in and out the view, or even rest. Resting is one of the more commonly used options and simply passes turns rapidly until rest is interrupted or until a stop event that you select in the rest menu is achieved, such as resting until all hit points are restored or until all spell points are restored. The journal will allow you to not only view quests, but relevant information on NPCs, enemies, achievements you've unlocked, maps you've owned, and so forth. The inventory/stats screen is perhaps one of the most complex of the game. During it, you are presented with a party inventory on the left, equipped items in the middle, and then stats or other things displayed on the right-hand side. Each character can equip a number of items in appropriate slots. Equipment is limited by class and by certain ability scores, and many items are unidentified when first encountered. Some of these are due to magical effects, but some simply have mundane qualities that the characters don't know. Items may be identified by a character's skill or at a shop. Character stats are available for review here and include not only the 4 covered during character creation, but also speed, evasion, and the various defenses, which are based on class and gear and occasionally traits. Attacks have both an accuracy and a speed, and a character equipped with a slow, heavy weapon will act slower in combat. They may also have a number of different damage types, as certain weapon attack modes will be unlocked as you gain skill in that weapon. Characters also have a certain number of resistances, which are mostly based again on class, gear, and certain inborn talents. Each character has a number of abilities as well, effectively an assortment of skills, weapon skills, and spells. Each class gains a certain number of them by default, but they may also be learned by obtaining certain spellbooks, through spending talent points after a level up, or through training with an NPC. Skills that are already known may be improved through constant use, but may also be boosted by training with an NPC, limited by the number of talent points one has left over from leveling up. After gaining experience through combat or through finishing quests, characters can gain levels. Once a character levels up, their hit points and spell points increase, and certain stats may also based on their class. Characters may also gain additional modifiers, also based on class, as well as a number of talent points used for training as mentioned before. Other tasks that may be done during exploration involve interacting with NPCs. NPCs may be chatted with and may present conversation options that unlock certain topics when you talk to them. In this way, you may end up eventually with quite a large number of topics that you can ask about particular NPCs. Shops are also available and can buy and sell various gear they restock randomly from time to time. Some NPCs offer training in various skills, and this training may include skills that must be unlocked via quests for said NPC. NPCs may also offer quests when you speak to them, and some shopkeepers can also offer crafting, enabling you to improve items that you have when you have the resources to do so. World exploration functions quite similarly to location exploration, except that the map can be a bit larger, and there is a day-night cycle. Time passes more swiftly during world exploration, as it is presumed to be a larger-scale map. Characters can pass from world exploration to area exploration, or from area to area in area exploration, by standing on the appropriate type of tile, being it at a cave entrance, an icon representing a castle, or some stairs, and then clicking the appropriate button. Finally, there's combat. Combat is turn-based, with each character and enemy taking their turn based on their speed and the speed of their last action. Characters who simply wait are taking the fastest action, while moving takes more time, and then attacking with a large two-handed weapon might take enough time for enemies to come in and get multiple turns before you can go again. Ranged weapons and spells usually have a maximum range at which they can be used, and may be used regardless of direction. However, most melee skills and movement must occur in the 4 cardinal directions, thus limiting the amount of options you have. Characters may execute a number of different skills, with some being on cooldowns and some consuming spell points, and some being simply basic attacks and moves that can be used at will. Different enemies have different strengths and weaknesses, so it can be very useful to vary up character gear when exploring different areas. For instance, certain undead may take minimal damage from piercing weapons or from certain spell types, while taking more from blunt weapons or raw magic. The pacing in combat can be relatively slow at times, so when engaging enemies on the weak side, an automatic script can be used to allow characters to fight on their own. It should be noted that each character can be automated independently and have their own script to govern their actions. So you have some big bruisers that you don't need to worry about, you can actually set them to automatically charge the enemy, while leaving your spellcasters in micromanagement mode to allow you to pick their movements. Combat can be challenging enough that I do recommend turning the AI off when engaging bosses. Fortunately, there is an easy checkmark to indicate at the start of any battle, and you can turn the AI on or off for all of your characters. After combat, characters gain experience and may gain gold and items. So the basic gameplay structure is pretty solid. Basically, you get quests from NPCs, go out to accomplish them, come back to get the reward and possibly other quests, manage your gear, sell excess, upgrade your items, rinse, and repeat. Each time you go out, you may push further into the world, and there does seem to be quite a bit to explore. Some areas have their own flavor text descriptions to go over what can be found within or to add atmosphere. It does have a certain old-school charm to it, and I found that the game was quite interesting in that regard. The world really does seem fairly well developed and does encourage exploration. I found that the combat did drag a bit at times and could be monotonous versus minor enemies, but I suppose that's why the AI shortcut is there, to enable you to just automatically breeze through easier fights once you know you can do them. Well, I'm not 100% certain that enabling one to just autoplay a fair amount of gameplay is the better solution than simply making even minor fights interesting, but it is what it is. In terms of graphics and sound, Dungeons of Chaos uses a number of roguelike-style graphic libraries and online sound libraries from around the web. They're well selected and sorted all in all, and I didn't find anything particularly obnoxious in that regard. They do look like they're designed around, the same game, even though they are taken from different libraries and whatnot. What did irritate me the most about the game was the user interface. Different tasks had completely different interface designs in some instances, some of which were a little overly complex, and the look of them was just ugly. Like, I'm going to be straight up with you. I really, really enjoy this game, but the UI is just bad. Like, aggressively bad. Being turn-based, the game is still quite playable even with this issue. You're not exactly in a rush to get things done. But I feel like if the UI were polished up, this one would be so much better. That having been said, all in all, I genuinely do recommend Dungeons of Chaos for anyone who's a fan of turn-based, party-based RPGs. It's complex enough regarding stat balancing and skills that does require more thought than the usual indie RPG fare I've been covering of late, and the world is engaging to explore. When the combats are hard, they're genuinely difficult, and that's where the turn-based combat really shines, requiring you to make strategic decisions. Just know when to use the AI and when to switch it off. I feel like I'm going to be returning to this one in some form in the future, either on another video or whatever. There is a God mode that is an expanded version of the game for a higher price available as well for those who enjoy a real challenge. And on that note, I'm going to leave it at that. This has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday Dungeons of Chaos. As always, I'll put a link to the store page in the description below. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye. And if you're still watching this far, I'd like to take a moment to thank those who have supported this channel via Patreon or direct donations throughout the years, without which this channel could not have lasted as long as it has. For those who are feeling particularly generous, you can still support my work through Patreon and now through Subscribestar as well, through the links in the description below.